I will call the Wednesday, November 13th, Village of Port Edwards Board meeting to order, and I will ask Diane to do the roll call.
Trustee Blueger,
Present.
trustee Hess,
Present.
trustee Hummel,
Present.
trustee Radke,
Here.
trustee Saylor.
Here.
And trustee Zerfel.
Here.
All right. Next will be the Pledge of Allegiance, and when we stand and do our moment of silence, we will honor those that have served our country, because Veterans Day was the other day. So let's keep them and their families in our thoughts. I
pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, number 4, motion to approve the consent agenda, meeting minutes of October 9th, 2024, board meeting, and then monthly bills, previous month's journal entries.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Radke, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hess. Any discussion based off of that? No? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one carries. Any public comments from anybody? Anybody online?
Nobody online.
All right, Mr. Stewart, any public comments?
No.
Okay. All right, number 6, president's reports. I put some more of these challenge coins in front of you. I know we did this a couple months ago where I challenged you to find village. So those of you that are new, these are for somebody that you know that's helping the village and you just want to recognize them. So these are these challenge coins. If you want to come back and tell us, great. If you just want to keep it private, that's great too. But just trying to recognize those who are helping our village in some way, shape, or form, and just letting them know that you appreciate them. Also, it is World Kindness Day. That's why you all have M&Ms around by you. If you do not like the flavor that you have, you can fight with your neighbor and figure out what kind of flavor you want. So, but thank you for all the work that you do. Otherwise, that is all that I have. So we'll go into commission and committee reports. We will go to trustee Zerflu for the airport commission.
Nothing much new for the minutes. I'm sure you all can glance at those. You have a copy. I would like to spend a minute or so on us. Airport Master Plan Committee is finally up and running. And I'll just mention a few things that this group will be looking into in the years to come. Working with VOA, the State Bureau of Aeronautics. They have representatives that will come up to the meetings. The meetings generally are going to be after the commission meetings, which are at 8 o'clock on Thursdays. And so they'll be meeting at 9 o'clock. The commission representative on that group is also the chair, and that's Matt Zacher, the mayor from Wisconsin Rapids. And there's 5 civilians that are on there, and we're lucky enough to get 2. Arnie Nystrom comes to mind mainly, who spent a lot of years on the commissions, Grand Rapids Town chairman for many years, and he's come out of retirement to serve on that. Their big thing is they're going to be looking at the airport for design, and the main interests for the master plan are going to be runways, crosswind runways, building area development, terminal building discussion, the state of the physicalness of some of the hangars and the terminal itself. And then they will be doing various surveys, and then they also will be setting up and taking care of the obstruction removals, which are some of the trees along South 3rd Street, by the airport. So, questions?
Any questions?
Would they like Range Line Road for another runway?
They're a little bit out of the flight area. Yeah. There was talk of that, believe it or not. when I was village president, you know, and,
To expand a little bit, but
yeah, and the airport did not want that. It would have been nice if they would have.
Anything else for trustee Zerfel about the airport commission? No. Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Stewart, Police and Fire Commission.
Good evening. Our last regular meeting was November 4th, and we took a number of actions on that night. One of them was, after completing all phases of hiring process, fire applicant Tanya Scholes was placed on the eligibility to hire list as a full firefighter, subject to approval of the fire chief. Additionally, the commission approved sending 2 first responder applicants for medical evaluation testing following successful interviews and background checks. And then finally, a new fire department applicant was moved forward to an interview process, beginning of the stage. I'd like to give you an update on the police chief situation. We're doing well. We're on schedule. We have completed all resume and document review for each of the 5 candidates we received. Yesterday and today, we completed a number of interviews of those candidates. What we'll do now is narrow down those candidates to a category that we call finalists. And we're thinking 2 or 3 of all those candidates. Then what's been set up is these finalists will be sent to meet with a subject matter expert panel who will assess them and provide feedback to us. These are a panel of previous sheriffs and current police chiefs, so forth. Those finalists will simultaneously go through a thorough background investigation. We hope to send our final candidate, who we wish to appoint, to Ben Martinson and Lon Radke for a salary and benefit negotiation discussion. All which falls into the salary window which this board has previously approved. Our process schedule is on time. We hope this is complete by middle December, with a start date of 2/3/25. Our next meeting is to be determined based upon the completion of the assessment panel. Can I answer any questions for anyone?
I have one question. So last time there was a meet the finalists at the Edwards Alexander House. Are you guys planning on doing that again when we get down to the 2 or 3 or
You know,
not?
I'd appreciate some feedback on that from you all. Happy to do that. We're in a little bit of a different circumstance, I believe, this time around than we were 5.5 years ago with the police department.
Mhm.
I think it was important to get public and trustee feedback 5.5 years ago because of the turmoil that we were going through. However, happy to do it again. It's not a huge thing for us to set up and schedule. But I'd like your input. You guys tell me, do you think it's beneficial? You think it'd be beneficial for the public to come in and see what they think? It would be our 2 finalists.
Can I, what specifically did you do then?
You know, it was like a open house, we had a little food, we had notes for the public and trustees,
A meet and greet type?
meet and greet.
Okay,
And go ahead and talk to the finalist. He's happy to talk to anyone, answer questions. It wasn't a formal deal, kind of a informal meet and greet kind of deal, you know. We did get feedback from the public in that process by way of simply little note cards that we left for folks.
Does it?
You guys have any thoughts on that? Because it's not that hard to set up.
Sure. Go ahead, Lou.
Well, I spoke with the current chief, Drew, and he said that that was fine. But he thought that the other candidate who was outside of the village, he said it was awkward for the other candidate because everybody knew him and the other candidate, really nobody, he was from out of the area.
You're right.
And so it was kind of an awkward situation for the other candidate. And I don't know who the candidates are for this, now, but I don't know if that, I mean, a meet and greet is a nice thing, but I think that after you select who you select, I think that would be the time for it, in my own personal opinion, because, again, that was feedback from our current chief.
Do you mean, you would recommend having a meet and greet with just the one finalist that we pick, you mean? So people can meet them, or?
Official?
Yeah, I think maybe after it's official, might be a better idea. That's just a thought, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Without, by law, our candidates, most have requested confidentiality. But by law, once you make them into a category of finalists, you do have to release if, we're asked by the press or anyone else. We're not at that point yet, but I can tell you this, that all of the candidates are, local. I don't know if that makes a difference to you, but.
Yeah.
Eric, go ahead.
I would recommend, kind of what Lon would say, just have a meet and greet after whoever's hired is hired.
Okay,
Because whatever comment cards you get from those two people that are there aren't gonna sway your decision one way or the other. It's not gonna be that, well, hopefully it's not that close.
Yeah.
But
the
it's,
last time coincidentally, there was really nice feedback on
Yeah.
both, but one was definitely preferred.
yeah, you're not gonna say, well, Eric Saylor pushed us over the edge and that's why we hired this guy. So
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I would just do
I
it
know what you're
after.
That's no problem.
That's my opinion. I'm
I
speaking
think,
for myself.
If you think the public would benefit from that, we can certainly set that up.
My opinion is to go along with these two, that I think afterwards, you're right, in 5.5 years ago, we were in a different situation. And I think that was a feel-good thing for the public to be involved as well. I think now it's a little bit different, but I think a meet and greet thing after would be great.
Very good.
But anybody else have any opinion on it?
Well, I would just say that if it were somebody outside the immediate area, I would think the board would gravitate towards them to ask them a bunch of questions, since we didn't know them, but since they're both local, I guess that need isn't there.
And when I say local, I mean relatively.
Closer than
Law enforcement community is pretty tight. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Same with fire. But,
Yeah, and I think the point that you all are making is it's unlikely, we're gonna unearth some previous, situation that would say, whoa, wait a minute, that person, he or she's not capable, or, you should disqualify them. So, given that, I'd also support what you all are saying.
sounds good.
I guess, I think it would be good to meet them in a social level before they start, so we can get to know them before or after. I could go either way, I can go after. But I think, and this would be, village board and public. Would it be open to the public?
I would
I
that'd
would
be
think
okay.
so.
And
I
that's
think there
fine.
might be a number of citizens that would like to meet, a
And
new
that's-
chief on an informal setting.
That's fine. I think it would be a good thing to start relationship building in the community,
Absolutely.
whoever it is. That's my thoughts.
Okay,
All right.
thank
Thanks.
you. Any
Thanks, Scott.
other questions for Commissioner Stewart about PFC? About his report? Nope. Any, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Plan Commission, there was no meeting, so Public Works Committee, Chairman Saylor.
We had our meeting October 21st, at 4:00. Just had a Public Works update from Ben, reviewed the draft budget. And that was about it. Our next meeting date was originally discussed to be November 19th at 3:30. But since then, we're gonna change it and piggyback on some of the other meetings, so it'll be November 20th at 5.
November 20th.
That's all we had.
Any questions for Chairman Saylor about Public Works? Nope. Okay, moving right along. We now have Parks and Recreation Committee.
Sure. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Madam President. We did not meet officially in October. However, I did want to report that the trunk and treat I thought was very well done. Thank you, Ben, for getting that set up, and Betsy for being one of the trunk people, along with two law enforcement and the fire department showed up as well, which was really great. Looked like a lot of kids were having fun, and both my wife and I enjoyed it as well. So thank you all for that. And the other thing I wanted to alert you to is just a reminder of December 8th on a Sunday between 3:30 and 5:30 is a Christmas tree lighting. I think that's going to be a really, again, another cool event. So I'm hopeful to see a lot of you come and join in on that as well. Ben, do you have anything you want to add from?
No, again, the trunk or treat, we had one, trunk that basically said they had over 130 bags and they gave, all the bags out. So definitely was one of our better turnouts for the kids, and also big thank you to the trunks. I think we had almost seven or eight trunks this year, which
Yeah.
was better, two better than last year, and a lot of good feedback. And I know even since then, we've got a couple people ask, oh, next year, make sure, you hit us up. So I think it definitely was better than last year. We made some changes to do it on a Sunday compared to during the weekend. I think we've made some notes and move forward with that next year again. The Christmas tree lighting, the high school band and choir will be here performing. They're also gonna be holding a bake sale, in the Marshall Center. And, Al Cafe is gonna be doing cookies and hot cocoa. And, the Salon's gonna have Santa and the Grinch, and still working on other activities for that day. So I think we're definitely got a good schedule planned and hope we can add to it.
Any questions for Parks?
In the minutes, it said splash pads splash pad needs maintenance. Is that budgeted for next year already, or
It's in the budget, yeah, it's, next year. So
what type of is it just routine maintenance or?
basically some of the switches on every feature has a switch in it, basically a relay, and the relays are just starting to stick a little bit and stay on. So,
So nothing substantial.
no, I think the relays are $100 to $125 or so.
Any other questions for Parks?
Is there another meeting scheduled, or are we not having a Parks meeting next month?
In December?
November.
I think now we have the Christmas tree light unless, we talked about that.
I think though in January, we'll get back to some of the things we were talking about. We were gonna work on inviting some of the organizations and talk about, is there a possibility of a festival for our area? And if so, how could we do that in a joint effort with many of the organizations? I really appreciated that comment, and we'll look into some of the summer activities that we can boost without having to spend any money. So we'll do that in January.
If we can set that date, so then I can let organizations know in January when we're gonna meet, we'll set that earlier.
That sounds good. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. If there's nothing else with Parks, then we'll go to Public Safety, Chairman Zerflu.
All right, let's go all the way down to, item 7, subparent B as a boy, discussion of possible motion to approve the new Southwood County Humane Society contract for 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Well, the president will do the official reading.
Oh, okay.
But I am going to, they've got contract for 2025. It should be a period. And then the set fee of $1,500 to go from charging per animal. I guess we could leave it in there when it's a little baggage. Anyway, Madam President, if you would make that motion.
Okay. I got another right one here. So I'll make the motion to approve the Southwood County Humane Society contract for 2025 at a cost of $1,500.
I'll second it.
Second by Ricky. Discussion.
I believe I asked the question during public safety. Has anyone had a chance to reach out to the Humane Society and find out, is this going to be renegotiated every year? Because I think they were going off of a 3-year average of the amount of animals. So is this going to be changing, or is it going to stay relatively
It's going to,
stable?
every year, we've done this for years and years and years, and we're finally going back to the contract instead of the per animal thing. 'Cause it's going to be cheaper in the long run.
So it'll,
And the last official contract we had was $2,500. Our illustrious clerk told me, and they came in with a recommendation of $1,500. So it took Diane and I about 1.3 seconds to say this is a hell of a deal, but it's reviewed.
I have a question, and I don't want to start spreading rumors, but I thought I picked up in a newspaper looking thing I get in my mailbox that said the Southwood County services were going to potentially disassociate with the county. Is that,
with Rapids.
that's Rapids?
Correct.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
They've been that way for years already.
Thank you.
Mark?
Any other questions on it?
Yeah, I guess just that knowing the situation, being in law enforcement when there's stray animals, they have been, we call, they're here to pick up that. And when I first started, of course, we had to take the dogs and put them in the squad car, put them out and feed them. $1,500 is, there shouldn't even be a question.
Any other questions, comments on that? Okay. So the motion was to approve the Suffolk County Humane Society contract for 2025 at cost of $1,500. All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Any opposed? That one carries.
Then not really a whole lot else went on, but I just want to get into setting meetings and make a personal pitch that we don't crunch meetings all on one day, and if we do, leave an hour between the start times. Because we're getting down to half hours, and sooner or later, it's gonna happen where we're gonna get a committee that's gonna have something come up that they've got to deal with, and it's going to go on and on ad nauseum, you know, and push everything else back. So like, if Public Works is meeting at 5, I would, and I wanted to meet at 4:30, I think I should actually meet at 4 o'clock or at 6, just to leave leeway in there. I know it's gonna inconvenience some trustees because they might be on 2 committees in a row. They want to get her going and get the hell home. Tough, that's my feeling. So, our next meeting, as said, is November 20th at 3:30. But I don't want to badge for being such a nice guy that looks out for people that are on my committee, but he technically works till 4:30, and I'm 1/19th his boss, so I know what the hell he does. What's up with me when I come in the courthouse? So I would like to just set our time when we meet. It's going to be the 4th Wednesday, and we're going to meet at 4 o'clock, and case closed. And if you can't make it, the president is always there to be the 3rd member, and if we do need somebody else, just call me and I will reach out and try and grab somebody.
Yes, sir.
How's that feel? Is you guys okay with that?
How come you get to pick first?
I'm the oldest, so it'll be.
I would challenge the age thing. I'd like to have
Right, you
a.
guys can bring your birth
Bring
certificates
your
a different day.
certificate, because I'm not sure
I
that
think
that's
I got
accurate
you beat
anymore.
by a few years.
Okay, so are you keeping,
So anyway, we're
So
gonna,
you're not
our
gonna-
meeting in December would be the exception. Now, if we met on the 4th Wednesday in December, that'd be Christmas Day
Right.
morning. And I don't think too many brides would be happy.
hey, I'm a bride.
Huh? And anyway, and then, carrying on, it would be like January 22nd, 2025 at 4 o'clock. You know, just get in that routine, because then that way you can make, I mean, we're now meeting the board on Wednesdays for the same reason. You know, you've got it now, it's set. People can do what they want to do on a Wednesday, and I just think committee meetings are,
So are you leaving the 20th at 3:30?
yes,
You're leaving it at
it's already
3:30?
posted, so we'll just leave that alone.
Okay, and you're good with that?
My schedule is flexible enough.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for public safety? No, hearing none. Okay. Then we'll go to Chairman Hess for planning.
Or, we had a meeting at October 23rd at 5:30, the Planning, Property and Legislative Committee meeting. We did have an update on the 160 Market Avenue property. A civil search warrant was executed on October 8th for inspection to identify concerns. Multiple concerns were identified. Ben's been working with the village attorney to finalize paperwork on an order to raise, and I believe that has been sent out certified mail. Is that correct?
Last Friday, Nick said that was sent out.
Okay. Taxes have been paid and the ordinance violations are also sent. So we have not heard anything back at all. Have you?
No, nothing on the 140 or 160 old post office property.
Okay.
Was it signed for? The certified letter?
You know, Nick did not get back to me. I can follow back up and let you guys know.
Anything else to add on the 160 property?
Nope, I am working with Nick to see what the next, after we send this letter to him, what the next step is and report back to committee, hopefully, next week with that.
Okay. Also did have an update on the DMI property. There's really no change on the DMI issue. Had a call. Ben can update with anything on that call if you would like to.
Yeah, unfortunately, Joe Moore had a prior conflict to not, and he did not come on the online call. So it was relatively a 10-minute, conference call. And, after that next day, I, reached out to Vanderwall and said, either you write an email or I will to DMI and see where they at. And, we have not heard anything back from them. I'm probably gonna personally call Joe Moore here either before the holiday of Thanksgiving or after and get some updates. And so I can give you guys, some updates on where we're at with that.
And I personally wrote an email also to Mr. Moore, have not heard a thing back, so appreciate Ben doing that one-on-one call.
Here we go.
Thank you. We did do an update on the grant for the administration building. We have a meeting scheduled with the YMCA to see their plans. We're trying to finalize what the YMCA is thinking of doing with that property. Right now, it has not been identified, so we're going to be discussing that at our next meeting. Future agenda items, update on the DMI, YMCA, the 160 Market Avenue property and Cyber One. Status will be talked about on November 20th at 4:30 is our next meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Chairman Hess? Mr. Saylor?
Do you think a half an hour is gonna be sufficient for the pit meeting? If not,
Probably
we can push back Public Works to 5:30
no.
if you'd
I
like.
would recommend doing that.
Still work.
Works 5:30 now.
Thank you.
Ours only take a minute.
Okay, 5:30.
Yeah, stick around. He said it's not that big a deal. Suck it up.
I gotta put the guy on.
We can
Okay.
hear now. So our Diane, Public Works will be at 5:30.
30.
Thank you.
All right. Chairman Radke, FHR.
We met November 11th at 4:30. Here at the Marshall Bueller Center. One of the things is we went into closed session to discuss, employee evaluations, and I guess, we didn't come up with a motion when we came out. But I'm gonna recommend to the board that, we give our employees a 3% increase in wage. Cost of living is 4%. And I'm gonna recommend that to the board, and that we also do an $85,000 a year for the pilot program for Mr. Martinson. It's all built into the budget. Diane and Ben and Dwayne, they all worked on the budget. They worked with all the other heads of the department, the fire chief, the police chief, and they came up with a balanced budget. I think everybody's got the packet and was able to review the packet. Some of the differences in the packet were, we put more money in the carryover. We've raised it from 100,000 to 200,000 for day-to-day operations. But talking with Ben, that everybody, all of each department was happy, so these raises were all built into that budget, and as you can see, it actually went down a little bit from last year.
How much did it go down? I thought, when I read it, probably, I've not been known to make mistakes. I thought it was up 50-some thousand.
Was it up or down? I thought that last year's budget expenses were 287, or
Went down
Well,
4,000.
went down 4,000 total.
And we'll let Diane can comment on that, but some of that obviously is what we carried over. We talked about,
Carryover
We,
from
we
last
spent,
year.
we spent department heads and we had some overages this year. So we definitely spent a little more than what, I think we had budgeted, right, Diane? Is that correct?
Pretty close.
It's very tight. So moving that, going from 100 to 200 is just a little more buffer. So if there is, we go over or next year that we have a little bit of leeway to get away with anything we have, because this year it's tight. I believe it's obviously numbers change by the day, but we're only looking for what, maybe $20,000 carryover if we're lucky.
So I mean, those expenses, that was at that time when I typed that.
This one here?
I'm tweaking it because I looked and see where it was sitting and changed the estimates for the end of the year. So they're having, it's changed a little bit.
Okay. But overall, I think it's good. If anybody has any questions, like I said, Ben and Diane really worked hard on this, and
Go ahead.
So am I reading this right, that our mill rate is going from 14.3 down to 9.5?
No, let me see, where is
Which-
It was on the sheet that you typed up.
Well, it might be. I mean, I put 2 years down there, didn't I? So it was, what I put it was last year?
It did decrease 14.38% from 2024 to 9.53.
Yeah, not percent, but yeah, per thousand. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I believe in that the other sheet you guys have does have doesn't it have that sheet there?
this one?
Yes, I believe that's also had the mill rate or their value.
8.16.
It goes up.
The village portion goes from 9.53 to 8.16, according to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then the schools went up about that much. So
This
it's
number
really
right
washed there because of the referendum, so.
This is a total.
I think the village portion went down.
the village portion went down, but the school portion went up.
Right.
Then the mill,
Because of the referendum.
went up.
So the total was
Yes.
18.75.
So, Madam President, are we in just the discussion period right now or questions?
I believe so. Eric,
Yeah, anything about the budget, I guess, is what I'm,
your brother. Okay, anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I
I'm
do.
assuming you do. Eric.
So did I just understand that, of the 100,000 that was put aside for this year, unassigned funds, 80,000 of that was spent?
It changes every day just because of like Diane's saying, that number, we do year-end projections
Okay, I
of what,
understand that.
of what each department is going to spend. So every week, every day, she can tweak it. This department is done spending this amount of money and back and forth.
So what's the current projection for how much of that 100,000 is being spent for 2024?
Right now, you're talking about the unassigned
Unassigned,
funds that went
yes.
from 100 to 200, that's still in the budget.
And that's not what I asked. What I asked was this year, 2024, how much of the 100,000 that we put in for 2024 is projected to be spent in 2024?
Projected to have cash on hand of about 50,000, so about 50,000.
So we spent half of the 100,000, or we're projected to spend half of the, okay, and how, what are the parameters about how that money could be spent in 2025? what's a reasonable thing that we would go there for and what's out of bounds for the use of that money.
Well, we like to not spend it. That's kind of put in there as a cushion, because, you know, budget is just a guess, and our expenses could be higher, our income could be lower.
A fire truck would blow an engine. We've only got $10,000 in improvements, so we'd have to look at that. If one of the public works trucks, if a building air conditioner or something in these buildings, we don't have a cash account that has extra money. So if the air conditioner, furnace, or goes out of any one of our buildings, it'd be above and beyond what's budgeted for 2000.
So this is kind of a contingency fund, is that correct? And what wouldn't be included in that? What's out of bounds to use that money for?
All it is a buffer
A buffer for what?
for the budget, because.
Yeah, so if a department goes over, we go, oh, okay, well, we'll just cover that in, with the unassigned funds, or is it, does it have to be, who decides if we're gonna use it under the unassigned funds for something that goes over?
If a department goes over, FHR looks at the monthly bills, they get the bills and that. So if somebody's going over, obviously I'd see it, Diane would see it, she'd let me know. We bring it to FHR and say, this department is going over, and then they'd make the decision. FHR would look it over and ask Diane, where can we get the funds, or myself and Diane, where can we get the funds to take that overage or whatever there is? And we'd, see what different departments, who has the funds for that.
Is there a procedure for dipping into the unassigned funds, or is it strictly with FHR?
Thank you, that's kind of what I was asking.
First of all, when you run the budget process, before you even look at the reserves, you look at the overall budget for each departments. And you have to make sure if your department's supposed to stay within their budget, for some reason, like Ben's saying, sometimes it doesn't happen. Then you take a look at you as a board, or even a staff or an administrator, look at the overall budget and say, which departments can we do a transfer on? Which we did.
What's the procedure for that? If you're going over, who's that responsibility lie to?
Administrator and the finance director, and then they take it to the finance committee.
Take it to the who?
Finance committee.
Yeah.
FHI.
Yeah, and then when you transfer from one pot to another
Then it
pot.
comes to
Go to the board.
Thank you.
It's a motion.
It goes to the board?
Yes, we've done that. We actually,
Goes to the board.
we had this year, we had $60,000 that was allotted for a fourth officer, but then the legacy grant did not go through for whatever reason. If it wasn't applied for, I don't know. So we had that $60,000. We took that fund and we used some of it for the Ashbourne tree disease. And we took some of the money and put it in the 400 account for the police department for another vehicle. So they have money for their vehicle.
Is that the same procedure for the unassigned funds, I'm assuming then?
Yeah.
Yes,
So it eventually comes through the finance committee to the board?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, does that answer?
It does, in the form of a motion or in the form of a discussion about it?
Motion and
Motion,
Yeah,
discussion, and vote.
I think my point is, once you make a motion, you're fighting upstream if you disagree with it. Then I have to make an argument about why that wouldn't be an appropriate expenditure, as opposed to a discussion where you could just say, hey, I'm not sure that is, and then do the motion.
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean, no? I mean,
No, you're misunderstanding. I agree with what you're saying. You get discussion internally, but you also got to go to the finance committee and the village board to make your final transfer.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, but what I'm saying is, the finance committee is gonna make a motion.
Recommendation.
So by the time it gets to a motion, it's very challenging. How many motions have we voted down? Probably a handful in a year's time. And I'm just saying, it means that 3 members of the board really make the motion and a quality part of the decision, and have more context than the rest of the board. And I just think the board ought to be much more active in terms of collectively looking at things that have to do with the budget. Actually, the planning part, I would like to see the board before a draft budget gets together, is have a discussion about what are we gonna invest in, what are we gonna pay, and how are we gonna look at the board as opposed to responding to what a couple of people have put together. Because now, when you look at this, it's pretty hard to go, yeah, you know what, I don't really believe this little item here was the right thing to do. And I don't know what the strategy is other than to make sure we make a budget that meets how much money we have. We don't have anything that says, we're gonna focus on that this year or not. And the lack of strategy from a business standpoint is a precursor for the way we're going right now to, in the next several years, we're not gonna have enough money to do what we do. And sometime we gotta face that, and I'd rather face it sooner and figure out how strategically we're gonna go about it, as opposed to just kind of merrily going along till we go, well, there's not enough money to do the basic things we're doing right now. So anyway, I went off on a long tangent
Well,
there.
you know, and I know, I understand, and I like to hear that. I think everybody needs to hear that. But, you know, this budget wasn't put together by Ben or Diane or just Dwayne. This was put together with the fire chief, the police chief. They met with everybody, that the heads of each of these departments, which is responsible for their own department. I mean, I think, Joe, you know, the police chief, the police chief comes and says, this is how much I need to operate this budget to have a safe
I
community.
understand. And how many board members heard that conversation?
Well,
3? Not 7, 3.
right.
I'm just saying, it seems to me that those are the kind of conversations I think we all ought to hear, as opposed to just an assortment. And I know that goes a little bit against the committee approach, but it still could stay in a committee and have it be more discussions before it comes to a motion. That's something, and we don't have to solve that tonight. I'm just asking us to consider some changes in that, because when I get this within less than a week to go over it, and all I've seen is what the parks have done, I don't think that's a fair representative of what I'm supposed to do as a trustee to do the best for each of the citizens here in terms of, are we spending the money right? And Ben, thank God, I've spent at least 2 hours with him going over this. And why don't we have that discussion together so Ben doesn't have to do that with multiple ones of us? I just think we ought to look at the process going forward.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna ask maybe for next year, we have a discussion about what the process would be that would allow that to happen next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think a committee of the whole, and maybe-
Exactly, that's what it is. And all the way up to this year, we always had a committee of the whole before we went forward.
so,
Committee of the whole first.
and then that way we can have each
And
head
that's
of
the
department
very
there and tell us
budget.
what they want and what we're looking at. And
Yeah, and then you get, then the finance committee could take in what even the board members have said and make a motion that inclusive to all of that. And we not only have our say, but we can test it out with each other before a motion happens. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with this discussion. I think it's important for the entire board to kind of feel this. The one, I'll piggyback on what I'm hearing Eric saying, is part of this board is to set up the strategic direction for the village. And what is the strategic planning going forward? And how do we integrate that into the budget process? Because we got to have a strategic vision, then we put the money where that strategic vision is. And that should come before setting the budget, in my mind. We have to know where we're going.
Then have a meeting in July, excuse me.
But what is the strategic planning process for this village to understand what we want to go?
10 years, and we have all the plans. We have 10-year, 20-year plans for roads, equipment.
But that needs to be thought through.
And I think that maybe because, you know, some of, yeah, but,
We go back to topic.
okay, but
But I mean, I get it, and it's a great discussion, just we've also have tried strategic planning meetings after elections as well. Some are attended, some are not, so we need to, as a board, make sure that we're going to those.
So we need to step up and do that.
Always go to any committee meeting and act just like anybody else, ask the chairman to speak and they can speak.
Can I say one other thing? I do not mean to say I'm opposed to what the budget is this year. I think people have done a lot of work I appreciate that work. It's not a cut on any of that. It's just I think the process could be more inclusive of the board members going forward, and their input is still very, very important. And I'm not trying to take away what's been done. But please don't misinterpret that. It's not a cut on anything.
Okay,
Nick,
thanks.
Did you have your hand up?
I did, real briefly, I think we're kind of mixing apples and oranges here, because we started talking about the unassigned funds, and then we started getting into strategic planning. I think they're two completely separate processes, because the unassigned funds are typically things that are unforeseen. It was like something breaks down, or we have a claim and we have deductible to pay, or something to that nature. It's not a matter of departments didn't budget appropriately, it's just a matter of we have to have something available for something else. So I think the strategic planning is definitely a good thing. I think there should be a formal process for how unassigned funds are allocated. If nothing else, we just put something on paper that says that, you know, the administrator and the treasurer will approve up to a certain amount. Anything above that is brought to the board. Just having something in place for contingency purposes.
So maybe that
Would
should
make me
go
feel
to the
better.
planning and legislative committee starting in the new year.
Yeah, we
get a
do need a
policy.
process. It sounds like there is one, whether it's formalized or not, we need to determine. I agree, there needs to be a process
I
for,
was wanting
For
to get
the,
that.
for the unassigned funds.
yeah,
Okay,
or
can I
even
say that?
switching budgets.
Maybe they should be called unassigned funds, because with the way our budget is set up, and Joe, I think you've heard the auditors say this, because we count our cash carryover as part of our budget, if every department, everybody spends to the penny, we're bankrupt. So that unassigned funds is more like a buffer that we should not be touching.
Okay.
That's
So it's
what
not a
it is.
true contingency.
No.
But that, again, it just reiterates the need for a process. If we need to go into that,
But we
what is
really
this?
should.
What is the process? The board should be voting to do that because
then-
it should be something exceptional.
I just want to get back to this, and then, I mean, there's a number of discussions. I'm gonna ask that we, on December 4th board meeting, that we pass the budget as it is. If you have other questions, you can get a hold of Diane or myself. And I recommend that the 3% increase in what we've decided in the pilot program is 85,000. I do take everybody's opinion in there. And I just think that, there's some, unanswered questions that we can answer and work together as a team.
I have one other one. Sorry to be the pest.
Okay,
But the 3% cost of living increase means that what we provide for our employees is a cost of living increase. There's no merit increase that we have set up. Is that correct?
that's correct. We do an employee evaluation every year, and I think it was done
And so
in July.
everybody performs exactly the same?
Well, we've talked about this in our FHR committee. The village is a small entity of employees. And I understand where you're coming from, because the other places that, I've been employed to, you have to go in and set goals and say where you're moving and how you're moving along. We've never done that. We've always had an evaluation form. Dwayne, everybody's been evaluated, and you've told me that you recommended the 3% for everybody after the evaluations
There's a
were completed.
evaluation process in the village. We got a procedure and a form process. We have the employee's name, et cetera. We also have their job to do. And in that is also a write-up saying what you're looking for in the future. There's goals in there from the administrator to the staff. Then they are reviewed with the staff members, one-on-one, which I've done with the major staff last year. And then there's a recommendation written up in the report from the administrator saying, this is per person perform very well. You do talk about their performance, and you mark it down. Yeah, but the problem is and I'll be honest with your government, a lot of times in government, everybody, we don't, this government, in this place, you don't have it paid for performance. Taxes say, yeah, if you're going to give an increase, this person should get the increase. However, when you look in the private sector, which I've worked in, I've been involved with it, you usually get a performance evaluation, you get your percentage based on your performance. And I think that's what I've seen in the past. I've seen governments try to do pay for performance. And when you get into a large organization, it works. When it's very small organizations, it's tough to do. Be honest with
it just makes it real hard for a top performer to kind of go, thanks for saying I did a job above and beyond everybody else, but why am I not getting an increase bit bigger than people who didn't perform? And I'm just saying that that's a losing battle going forward.
I understand because I've been there too.
But what you're saying is that for governments that is not possible to do, or we're too small to do that?
Not necessarily what happens, when I worked in another group, the larger groups, you have unions involved, and that portion makes a big portion. I know you're getting off topic, so I shouldn't know if I should go there or not.
No, I think,
I
Here
got
to
to the topic.
what's here.
No, I'm just being clear that we don't have a merit increase. We
That's
have
correct.
a-
That's correct.
Correct, no. Real quick.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Any questions, comments? I know we've had a lot of discussion, but anything else related to FHR or the budget right now? Okay. And then next meeting for you is to be determined.
Yeah, that's gonna be, because, that board meeting is December 4th, so, it'll be determined if we need one or not, depending on police chief or any other FHR matters that might come up.
Thank you. Any, number 8, any unfinished business from previous meetings? Hearing none. Number 9, new business. Okay, report from village administrator. Which one of you is taking it?
The first one is, I think is about this surveys.
Survey, yes.
And the motions, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, what you have is in the third edition to the east shore of Nepco Lake. There was several lots off of, I think it's called Fly Rock Trail. And what you have is lot 60 and 61, which is in front of you, which is now being combined into one lot. And that's went through the process of, all we're looking for is a recommended that the motion to approve that, so it gets forward process, the same owner. And therefore the lot, no longer have a set from lot 60 or 60, that'll be actually combined.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion to approve the Wood County Certified Survey Map combining lot 60 and 61 of third edition to Lake Shore at Nepco Lake. Motion made by Radke. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Hummel. Discussion, any other discussion on it?
Do we know, it's probably not important for this motion, but do we know what their plan for the combining the lots is?
The homeowner just reached out to the village and we sent them over to the survey company and then they just send us back the survey map. We
So
didn't.
the homeowner's asking for this, is there
Yes.
any property or any buildings on this property?
No, right now it's vacant. Yeah, no, we normally don't ask what they're
That's,
doing with it, I guess.
Yeah, they're unimproved at the moment. Those 2 lots are unimproved at the moment.
like I said, it's not pertinent to this, I was just curious if we knew.
Sorry to keep asking for clarification. If somebody has 4 lots that they put together and they want to break them apart, do they come before? Do they get approval about that?
Yes.
Every CSM map comes back through the village.
Okay, I'm seeing some that are having surveyed, that have put 4 lots together and they're obviously, they covered up the sign. And now they want to do it individual lots, but I haven't seen anything come here. I'm wondering if they're aware that they have to request that. Is
If you
that,
want to send me the location, I can go out there tomorrow, take a look at it and then,
I'll tell you exactly where it is.
There, perfect. Okay, any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, motion to approve the Wood County Certified Survey Map. Motion made by Radke, second by Hummel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one carries. Okay. On to B.
B, B is something that's been discussed since I've been here almost for over a year. It's done, and of course, Nepco Lake Development and the bond agreement. I sent everyone the recap of the bond agreement and the recap of the development agreement. Plus then a report that I put together indicating what I found in the process over the years. And I'm gonna say at this point, I hope everybody got a chance to read it. And instead of me going through it, I'm gonna ask Start to put out, is there any questions? We'll go from there. I'll let the chair decide who wants to take the first question.
Okay, any questions on the boundary agreement report? Going once? Going twice?
I'll just comment, thank you for the work that you did on that. It's still, as you know, it remains somewhat incomplete, because it's hard to get the information that was verbally transferred to people, and so forth. And I assume there's no action that we're ready to take, on this. And my encouragement would be that we, look at it, in next year. Not right now, because obviously, a budget has been set for this year. And it would be much better to spend the time next year really looking at, are there any alternatives or not, as opposed to pushing something through right now. So thank you. I think you're setting us up well to have a much better conversation and an opportunity to look at options, in 2025 than right now.
Well, the recaps are real good, and I tried to do a conclusion what occurred over the years, best I could find for our records.
Yeah.
And bottom, you can also see what discussions were made by the past administrator. And basically, but I could not find it, it never was taken to the board for any final discussion.
It wasn't, there's one small little correction, at one of the PLIP meetings, because they said there was nothing that was written. There was a ordinance change that was proposed, which said, people on the East Shore could be charged anything from 0 to 100% for any maintenance that was done.
That's in here.
Oh, it is in there. I missed that.
It's in, yeah, you can check, there could be, expenditures could occur. I checked with Diane with the records. None of that occurred during that period of the,
Yeah, it never got in the official ordinances, but I wanted to make sure that people knew that somebody had believed that, it was worth writing an ordinance like that. And, we can talk about it next year.
Okay.
How's that?
I just want to make sure you guys finally got the results. That was the board, gosh, we put it together. And it did take me some time, and I think it also for new members, it shows what was happened for the last 10 years. It's been hard. It's been a long process.
Thank you for that, doing, there's a lot of work into it too. Looking at the- Okay, anything else on that? I'm assuming you'll talk about it next year. Perfect. Okay, number 11, report from the clerk treasurer.
And I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize a public hearing for the 2025 village budget as presented at the meeting. The public hearing will be held on December 4th, 2024 at 7 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Radke,
Second.
second by Hess. Any discussion on that one? Okay. Hearing, no discussion. All those in favor of the motion to authorize a public hearing for the 2025 village budget as presented at the meeting, the public hearing will be December 4th at 7. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries.
Okay, I'd like to also ask for a motion to move the December board meeting to December 4th, 2024 for tax purposes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion to approve the December board meeting to December 4th for taxing purposes made by Radke,
I'll second.
second by Fluger. Any other discussion on that?
Do a time. It's like
Right after the
7:15.
We'd always just say following the public hearing.
Public hearing.
So,
Seven.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Anything else, Diane? All right. Number 12, trustee comments.
I do have one question. It probably should have been in the discussion of the public hearing. Who officially runs that meeting? You? Okay. Who presents? You?
No,
No.
Myself and Dwayne, that'll be Dwayne's last meeting. We'll be presenting the
technically
budget.
it's called to order by the village president, then it's turned over to the village administrator. When he has done, questions are answered, it goes back to the chair, the village president. He declares, or she declares it closed, and then she opens up the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Any other trustee comments? Okay, committee meeting calendar. Okay, I think I can read my handwriting. To be determined for FHR, nothing scheduled for parks. On November 20th, we have
3:30.
Public ser-
safety.
public safety at 3:30, PLP at 4:30. Public Works is now at 5:30. Public hearing is on December 4th at 7 o'clock with the village board meeting directly after. Yes, sir.
I have one other, after listening to discussion tonight about the budget and everything. And then Diane gave the clear, concise reason why we have the fund we have, so we don't go bankrupt.
Mhm.
I strongly suggest that sometime in July, we start doing it like the county, you start getting your acts together. So by the time September comes around, everybody knows pretty much what's gonna be melded into a full budget. And I really suggest that we start it out early next year with John Troutman coming down to a board meeting or a special committee of the whole. And he can explain 90% of what was brought up tonight. John will nail it right down. Money well spent.
Thank you, John.
He's our accountant.
Your auditor.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that would be appropriate, like March time?
Oh, yeah. Earlier the better.
No, in
No,
March to
just
do the
kidding.
audit
Yeah.
Doing the audit.
previous year.
Oh, okay, so maybe after March?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we can feed that into a strategic planning meeting if,
Give John his due time alone.
oh yeah, I wasn't gonna rush them in. Okay, noted. Anything else? Otherwise, I adjourn without objection. I adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, wow. How long was your special meeting on Tuesday?